We're looking at the speech by Eliphaz to Job in chapter 5 today of the book of Job. We're looking more into what he has to say and seeing his advice based on his worldview. We saw yesterday that his authority is not God. His authority is an experience of mysticism, a vision in the night. A spirit has come and told him things that he's going to relate to Job. And as we look at that message that he has, and he's already said, Job, you're getting exactly what you deserve. That's part of the message. But he's going to embellish that in chapter 5. We saw verses 6 and 7, where he's done that. And then in verse 8, Eliphaz gets pretty pious. You always like an advisor or a comforter who's pretty pious. You know, they think they've arrived, and they're looking down on us and telling us what we should do, and they would do it differently. And that's exactly what Eliphaz has. He's a crummy comforter, as we see here. In verse 8, he says, "But as for me, I would seek God. And I would set my cause before God." Now, Job, here's what I would do. I would seek God and talk to God about this. Well, not that Job hasn't been doing that, probably for weeks now, and it will do this throughout the book. But he just sets himself up as something above Job. And I would do it this way, he says. That wasn't particularly helpful to Job. And if Job does, he says, if you do it my way, you follow my pattern, then all is going to be well with you eventually. And we see that in the latter part of this chapter. Verse 17, he says, "Behold, how blessed is the man whom God reproves. So do not reject the disciplines of the Almighty." So if God's going to reprove you or discipline you, hey, let him have at it. Quit fighting God. So he's being pretty rough. And then he goes on in verses 21 on down to basically say if Job would respond differently, if Job would just do it Eliphaz's way, then all would be well. And he gets down to the brass tacks when we come to verse 22, when he says this, "You will laugh at devastation and starvation." Now, that's being said from an ivory tower of someone who's not going through devastation and starvation. I don't know of many people that are laughing at starvation and devastation. I just don't think that happens very often. And so he's being pretty rough here once again. And then he says in verse 26, "You will come to the grave in full vigor." In verse 27, "Behold this, we have investigated it, and it is so. Hear and know for yourself." So he's saying, look, if Job would just do it his way, that all would be well, and he would get over this, and God would restore all that he had lost. These are the words of Eliphaz, his first salvo out there in his response to Job's concerns and problems. But verse 27, I mean, it's very, very important. When he finishes his speech, and we've already seen he's very pious, he's really uppity, and he concludes by saying this, which sounds very pious to me. He says, "Behold this, we have investigated it, and so it is. Hear it and know for yourself." He's setting himself up, and maybe the other friends, as the final arbitrator. They have investigated this, they've looked into it, they've researched it, and they know they are right. And all Job has to do is pay attention to them, hear it, and know it for yourself, and all would be well. They're actually perpetrating what we call today the law of attraction. In the New Age mysticism, and also in much of the prosperity gospel today, prosperity teachings in churches today, the idea is if we will do positive things, and we speak positive words, and we live a positive life, then good things come to us. If, on the other hand, we do negative things or say negative words, then negative things come to us. And so he's saying to Job, if you just straighten up, do it my way, then you will attract all the good stuff to you, and you won't have to go through this stuff anymore. That's a worldview that is unbiblical. But Eliphaz had it thousands of years ago, the law of attraction. Not a biblical teaching, but Eliphaz thinks it is.